Good morning, my dear children. Today, again, we will continue with the same chapter, The Age of Mauryas. We will see administration, army, economy, art, and decline of Mauryan Empire. So, administration of Mauryan Empire can be studied under four heads: central, provincial, district, and village. The capital Patliputra was administrated separately. So let's start with central. Here the king was the supreme authority. He took all the important decisions, and council of ministers known as Mantri Parishad assisted the king. Different branches of administrations were under control of officials named Amatyas. Now, provincial, the empire was divided into provinces, and each province was headed by a prince, and he was representative of the king in that province, and many officials were appointed to assist him. Then comes district. The Pradeshtha was the head of the district, and he was assisted by junior officials called Yuktas and the Rajukas. Now, these people measured land, collected taxes, and maintained law and order. Now, many villages altogether made up a district, and government officials were assisted by villagers in marking the village boundaries. They also maintained land records and collected tax. In every village, a headman that was chosen by villagers themselves was appointed. As I told you, that Patliputra was administrated separately, and it was also the capital of the empire. And various safety measures was taken to protect the city of Patliputra. It was all surrounded by a wooden wall. It had 64 gates and 570 towers. And there was also a moat around the city. Now, moat is a deep and wide excavation, and it is usually filled with water and sometimes dangerous animals. And it goes round the wall of the place. It is done to protect the place. You can see here this illustration is of a moat. You can see water and how it's flowing round the wall. So this way a moat was made to protect the city from the enemy attacks. Besides this, 6 boards comprising 5 members each, that means 30 members, looked after the city. Each board looked after a certain department, such as comfort and security, registration of births and deaths, industry, trade and commerce, inspections of manufactured goods, collection of taxes. All these black and white images are the remains of Patliputra. The first archaeological excavation of Patliputra under the supervision of A.B. Spooner between 1913 and 1917 was funded by Sri Ratanji Jamshedji Tata, who donated rupees 75,000 to the project. It's because of him that we are able to study about Patliputra in detail. Mauryas had large army, and the commander-in-chief of the entire military was called Senapati, and his position was next to the emperor. He was appointed by the emperor. The military was divided into 5 sectors, namely infantry, cavalry, chariots, elephant, forces, navy, and transport and provisions. The army's salary was paid in cash. The army was equipped with weapons such as bows, arrows, swords, armors, and shields. And they defended the empire from enemy attack, also maintained law and orders. Now we will know about the spy system. Spies play very important role in the protection of any country, because they bring all the secret informations that are doing rounds in the city. So the espionage system of the Mauryas were well developed. There were spies who informed the emperor about the bureaucracy and markets. There were two types of spies: Sanstana, that is a stationary, and Sanchari, wanderer. Gudapurushas were the detectives or secret agents, not only men but women known as wish kanyas or poisonous girls were also the part of this spy system. Now we will know about the economy. The revenue department chief was called Samharta. Another important official was Sannidhata, treasurer. Revenue was collected on land, irrigation, shops, customs, forests, ferry, mines, and pastures. License fees were collected from artisans and fines were charged in the law courts. Most of the land revenue was one-sixth of the produce. In Arthashastra, there is also a reference to water tax. The money collected through taxes was spent on maintaining the army, paying salaries to government officials, charities, and on public welfare activities such as building hospitals and roads. Most of the people were farmers, but artisans, herdsmen, and carpenters were also not behind in number. Many were recruited as army person and also as a part of government. Now we will study about its trade. The political unity and internal peace encouraged the expansion of trade in India. During the Ashoka's reign, India and Greece made a friendship treaty, and due to this, both inland and overseas trade flourished. Patliputra, Ujjaini, Takshala, and Broach were important inland trading centers, whereas Rome, Egypt, China, and Sri Lanka were the international marketplaces. All traders had to pay taxes and custom duties depending upon the value of their goods. There are sufficient evidences defining the society of modern society. As per Megasthenes, the upper class, that is the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas, and the Vaishyas, they continue to enjoy their privileged possessions. Modern rule marks an important phase in our cultural history. Mainly in the period of Ashoka, the art and architecture was at its zenith. All the stupas, pillars, palaces, and potter reciprocates the modern craftsman mastery over stone. Ashoka built 84,000 stupas and viharas. Now, stupas of solid domes were constructed of brick or stone with different sizes. Ashoka stupas were constructed to celebrate the achievements of Gautama Buddha, like stupa at Bairat, Rajasthan in the 3rd century BC. The great stupa at Sanchi was built with bricks and several changes were done. The inner wall of the stupa was built either by terracotta bricks or by sunburnt bricks. The top of the dome was decorated by a wooden or stone umbrella, which denotes the universal supremacy of Dharma. Parikrama was also there by encircling the stupa. Similarly, viharas or monasteries were places where the Buddhist monks lived. They were also decorated with the sculptures, and stone pillars are a marvel in themselves. It was carved out of solid rock and had a metal polish, and it generally had animal figure at the top called capitals. In Sarnath near Varanasi is the most famous pillar on which Four lines sitting back to back facing the four directions are carved. And below each line is a chakra or a wheel. This land capital is now the national emblem of India. Within the 5 decades of Emperor Ashoka, the Mauryan Empire collapsed. There were many reasons for it. After the death of Ashoka, the Mauryan Empire split into two halves, western and eastern parts. This weakened the empire. Powerful kings like Chandragupta Maurya and Ashoka could control the administration well, but weak rulers led to a weakening of the administration and ultimately led to the empire's fall. Also, the sheer vastness of the Mauryan Empire meant that there had to be a very effective ruler at the center who could keep all the regions united. And because because the empire was quite big, it was quite large, it was difficult to keep communication, and this distance to communicate also led to many independent kingdoms, because only first three emperors of Mauryan Empire were capable and the rest were of no match to them. Empire grew financially weak. It spent large amount of money in maintaining the large army and running an elaborate administration. Brihadratha was last Mauryan ruler, and he was killed by his commander-in-chief called Pushyamitra Shunga. And with this, the Mauryan rule ended. Here we complete this chapter. If there is any confusion, any doubt, please ask. Thank you.